Let me show you something. This lady does not know which way to run. One moment she's running forward and the next she's backing away. That moment of panic when your body wants to escape but there's nowhere safe to go. These young men are closing in. She's surrounded. They rush her, grab her, rob her, and then they walk away. What's more chilling is that on June 17th, 2025, this would happen to not one, not two, but to two main Kenyans. And the pattern was the same. A group of young men armed with makeshift clubs were moving in parks, attacking protesters, robbing civilians, and disappearing as fast as they arrived. From just this image, they don't look like protesters, do they? They're not in uniform either. So who are these guys? And why did they show up when the protests happened? See, the simple answer to this question is that these are just goons who decided to take advantage of the protests to rob and harass people. And you would not be wrong. But zoom out just a little bit and you start seeing a very strange and worrying picture. Because look at this. Guys carrying clubs and then cops. Them, police. Again and again and again. What are we looking at here? Because something is definitely going on. But what? Are the police working with these guys? I want you to remember that question. We're going to come back to it. But first, remember when people started disappearing? One young man abducted from the barber shop, another one picked up by the roadside, someone else taken right outside their gate. There were no warrants, no uniforms. It was just armed men in their infamous Subarus. When Kenyans asked what was going on, when they asked who was taking our people, the Inspector General of the National Police Service, Douglas Kanja, said this.
You see, it's part of the duty of a police officer to arrest an offender, but not to abduct an offender. So those who abduct, they commit crimes.
Let's unpack that. The duty of a police officer is to arrest and not to abduct. Let's just focus on those two words, arrest and abduct. See, according to Kenyan law, an arrest must follow a strict constitutional and legal procedure. It's designed to protect the rights and dignity of every person. Under Article 49 of the Constitution, any person being arrested has the right to be informed promptly in a language they understand while they're being arrested. They're allowed to remain silent. They're allowed to communicate with an advocate or a family member. And they should also be brought before court within 24 hours. The National Police Service Act adds that an officer making an arrest must identify themselves clearly, especially if they're in plain clothes, and they must use only necessary and proportional force. Every arrest must also be properly recorded in an occurrence book, what we call an OB, and it should be done at a recognized police station. The individual arrested must not be subjected to violence, torture, or illegal detention. So if the person is not informed, is taken by masked men in unmarked vehicles, is not presented in court within 24 hours, or cannot be traced in any OB, we can call that an abduction, right? And if so, then according to Kenyan law, that's illegal. Here's Billy Mwangi's story. One of the young men who were either arrested or abducted.
I was taken when I was in the barber shop, and taken and blindfolded, handcuffed, and taken to a place that I don't know, where I was receiving beatings every day on my back. Every single day, someone comes and beats you. And I was there for 17 days, no eating, sleeping naked, thrashed.
From what the law tells us, was that an arrest or was that an abduction? Here's Joshua Okeo.
Sasa wakati niliona sasa nimeingizwa mahali nikaachwa, na hawakuniambia chochote, wakaenda wakakaa. I could not estimate really ilikuwa muda unatoshanaje, lakini walikaa sana. Waliporudi wakaanza kunipiga ankles na chuma, wakiniuliza maswali, but the same questions, maswali the same too.
Again, abducted or arrested. If the police are not behind this incident, then who are these guys operating in broad daylight? It's either one of two things the way I see it. Someone is not telling the full truth, or there is a rogue force moving around the country and no one seems to be stopping it. And that's where things start to get very, very strange. See, after weeks of fear, weeks of people shouting, bring them back, the president finally addressed it.
I want to promise you and to promise the people of Kenya that under my administration, there will be no Kenyans in River or any other river or in any other place. As I talk to you today, I don't have a single name of somebody who has been abducted or disappeared.
And then a few weeks later, he said this.
And all the people who disappeared have, or who are abducted in what you said, all of them have been brought back to their families and to their homes.
They've been brought back to their families. Wait, so from where? And does that mean that we know who took them? And if we do, then according to Kenyan law, what we've just seen, what they did is illegal. So are they going to be prosecuted? And when we say that they've been brought back, how many are all? You wonder why there's just so much mixed messaging around this. Do we know who did this or no? Or is it that we know but we cannot tell? That's why this is bigger. This is about power and denial. And that can get very, very blurred. That's why this matters, because what we're watching might not just be chaos, it could be something worse, a force operating outside the law. And if that's true, who's empowering them to do their dirty work, to break protests, to create fear? Is it the government? Is it the politicians? Are they self-funded? Unfortunately, there's no good answer, because either way, once you arm people outside the system, they don't stay outside. Take a look at our neighbors, Sudan. They've been in a civil war since 2023. The conflict is between Sudan's armed forces and the Rapid Support Forces. Who are the Rapid Support Forces, you ask? Let me give you a quick history lesson. So they evolved from so-called Janjaweed militias, which fought in a conflict in the 2000s in the Darfur region, where they were used by the government of President Omar al-Bashir to help the army put down a rebellion. Over time, the militia grew. It was made into what we know now RSF in 2013. The group was granted the status of a regular force. In 2017, a law legitimized the RSF as an independent security force. Now, what am I getting to? They were an element on the outside that was brought in and legitimized. And now, they've turned on the same government that armed them. So the question back home is, are the police intentionally looking away while all this is happening? And if they are, what happens when these elements go rogue? What happens to us? The rage does not fade. The boys are still going to have their bikes and they'll still need to eat. And history, if you've been in Kenya long enough, tells us what happens next. There have been moments in our past where young men empowered by politicians decided to take control for themselves, when intimidation became a business, when fear became currency, when people stopped waiting for salaries and started going door to door asking for money. And it started just like this, a small group protected by power, and then it spreads.